Hello gamers and future friends, I'm Blarglefarg and I'm here to review the games that you've either never heard of or never played. These games are ones I've acquired after years of having Steam from any means, whether it was bundles, friends gifts, Steam sales, spur of the moment, anything. This video, unlike my last video, will mainly be just reviews rather than reactions due to there being very little to react to in most of these games. The games I will be reviewing in this video are Algobot, Cyberhook, Hue, Remnants of Naezith, Slain, Back from Hell, Smoke and Sacrifice, and Splasher. These games were chosen at random. Please enjoy. First review I will be giving is for the game Algobot. Algobot is another puzzle game, and like all puzzle games, it was good. I never despised working the brain, and personally, I love puzzles. This one started out great. I loved the concept, the robots were funny, and the puzzles were challenging at the start of the game. The concept or objective of Algobot is to direct a robot from A to B by giving him a directional command. Later on, you are asked to perform a task during this process, like throw some trash away or pick up and drop off a robot. But for the most part, you are just inputting a code for the robot to follow to complete all needed tasks and have the robot at the final location to complete. You are also given a function key to shorten the total number of commands. Let's say, for example, your robot needs to go up, left, right 10 times in this level. So you think it would be 30 commands by coding up, left, right 10 times. However, you can substitute up, left, right for a single function key. Therefore, it only takes 10 command lines instead of 30. For some puzzles, you may not have enough commands to solve it, so you substitute one command for at most 8 in order to allow the robot to complete the task. Later on, you gain a second and even a third command to allow for 3 separate substitute functions that give you 8 functions each, totaling 24 commands with only 3 inputs. I know I just threw a lot of math at you, but you know. What sort of became dull later on, and with the more puzzles you solved, it's hard to explain, but you sort of gain this subconscious discovery of how to solve the puzzles and what really to look for. All puzzles sort of became easier in a way, where I would solve it not only on my first try, but also in the fewer number of moves, which is what the primary objective of the game is. Then, to make things even easier, you would essentially just write down all the moves needed to complete the puzzle, look for the most repeating pattern, plug that pattern into a shortcut, and voila, the puzzle is complete. They add a few extra keys to the game, starting with a U-turn, and then they add pick up and put down an object, and then they add 2 interface keys that allow you to open a gate, as you'll see in this video. Adding keys never added any difficulty to the puzzles, only time. There was never a difference in difficulty whether I had to press a directional key or pick up a robot or do an interface. It didn't really add difficulty, just an extra step. Altogether, I enjoyed it and recommend it to any fellow puzzle solvers out there, but if you're a gamer who prefers more action gameplay, I'd maybe sit this one out. Okay, second game I'll be reviewing is Cyberhook. This was the only game on the list that was not chosen at random. Since I had so much fun with Impulsion in my last video, I decided to play a game that I thought looked similar, and what a game it was. Okay, Cyberhook, holy shit. The scenery, the fast gameplay, the thrive for a better time, the swift motions, all tied together for one awesome game. First, the gameplay, you are given a hook shot, a single hook shot used to get you to the finish line. Once hooked onto something, you then pull yourself towards it to gain momentum, and then let go at the last second to project you further to the end. You were also given a gun for your other hand, however, there were very few times where the gun is needed. There are a few locations where a green box is either covering the block you need to grapple, or possibly a green wall is blocking your path and you need to shoot it to progress. There are a few ending levels that require you to shoot this green eye of an enemy, otherwise once you pass them they will catch you and kill you before you can reach the end. Though this was in the game, it was used very little. Cyberhook took me about 10 hours to 100%. Main requirement was to beat a specific time on each level. There are 3 times to beat. All will provide you this crystal looking thing. There was never much of a struggle with beating the required time, and that isn't because the game was generous or easy. The times felt perfect in a sense that you needed to have some skill, but then again, it wasn't asking you to be a god. I will say there were some levels that weren't so much difficult, it was just a matter of finding the right path. For example, this level Big Bank, I couldn't get to the finish fast enough and was confused until I watched the speedrun of it and found out that they were skipping the beginning staircase altogether. I'd be lying if I said I didn't use provided speedruns for help on what the fastest path was, but then again, it is what it is. In terms of story, there isn't one. You're sort of just put on this planet and this robot's like, we gotta get out of here, but there's this guy chasing you, but there's no boss fight or anything. It's mainly just a platforming game for speedrunners. The robot's pretty funny, but in order to get off the planet, you need to collect the crystals, and like I said before, collecting crystals is for beating the times on levels. But yeah. Like my last video for Impulsion, I highly recommend this game to any speedrunners out there. This is a game that you can speedrun for a fast time and not have to restart due to some random bullshit after hours invested. So in the end, yes, all I wish is it had a larger community to provide more custom levels, but I think the developers should be really proud of themselves. Just, what a game. Okay, Splasher review. I like to start my reviews with the main point I get from the game, the main characteristic that separates this from all other games. Splasher's main difference is the nostalgia that I got from it. I don't know why, but this game gave me some serious flashback to the feeling I got playing games as a kid. Back in the 90s and 2000, it was a simpler time with video games. We didn't have the AAA games we have today, and we didn't hold games on pedestals to meet our expectations. We played the games we were dealt, at least from my perspective. It was me and my buddies sitting around a TV, no matter what game we were playing, good or bad, we made it work and had fun with it. I do not know why Splasher took me back, possibly the simple gameplay, the art style, or even the fact that they use the Mario jump. Whatever it was, I enjoyed every second of playing this game. Right off the bat, as you can probably tell, I liked it. This game was short, sweet, and to the point. This review really isn't that easy, because the gameplay is a bit too simple to brag about or explain in detail why it was so good. One really needs to play it just to feel it for themselves. To start with gameplay, Splasher is a 2D side-scroller with a cool form of platforming. The character in Splasher is given 3 different types of guns, each with their own unique ability. The objective is to use these abilities to get from the beginning of the level to the end of the level. Speed, though it's encouraged and fun to do, never really felt rushed or pushed onto the player. They made a great game that combines the two. Yeah, you can complete it competitively and fast, or you can have fun at your own pace. The gun consists of a clear liquid, a red liquid, and a yellow liquid. The clear liquid is your basic ammo used to shoot enemies. The red liquid, when shot on a wall or the ceiling, allows you to wall run. The yellow liquid shoots out bounce material, allowing you to either speedrun the level faster or go over long jumps that you can't get over with the regular jump. To talk about the story, it's never really explained throughout. You are cast into this toxic waste dump, and this evil looking guy who, every time you run into him, flips you the bird and escapes. It's never explained why you're after him or what you're doing here until the very last cutscene. What was great is the developers got everything right, and what I mean by that is there were constant moments in the game where I would say to myself, if this is about to happen, I'm done playing this game because I'm going to be too frustrated. The developers knew what would frustrate the player, and instead of thriving for more game time like some games do to make it more difficult, they simply didn't take that path and just let the gamer have fun. One quick example is you may notice these portals throughout the gameplay. So whenever I originally went in, I noticed the difficulty of these portals and said to myself, if I have to go all the way back to the checkpoint after making it to the portal just to die in a portal, I'd be very frustrated. But instead, the developers simply allowed the player, once kicked out of the portal, to jump right back in as many times as they wanted. The main reason why I think I'm enjoying making these videos and playing these games as much as I am is due to the fact that none of these indie games requires a commitment from me. When I play Elden Ring, God of War, Resident Evil, any AAA game really, I have to be prepared to play the game for hours on end to make any playtime seem worth it. These indie games were perfect when I have those 1 to 2 hour nights and can only play a few levels here and there. If there is ever a night you have where you don't have time to play a long story or don't have time to progress in your game, I recommend any of these games in this series. Just good, simple fun. One quick warning for this next game, it is a puzzle game. I would like to say that if you don't want any spoilers or possible solutions to the puzzles, feel free to listen and not watch. Hue is yet again another puzzle game. Gameplay wise, you slowly obtain colors. The more colors you have, the more complicated the puzzles are. By switching colors, you are able to mask certain backgrounds, allowing you to pass by objects, push and pull crates of your choosing, or dodge a falling rock by making the rock to the same background color. The puzzles were fun and challenging. It took me roughly 4.5 hours to complete. There is one last achievement I have to obtain, which I actually thought would be a problem until I realized this game actually has a map and an inventory that shows you where you still have collectibles left. I didn't expect that in a puzzle game like this. But what makes Hue stand out from other puzzle games is the science lesson it gives throughout regarding our observable universe, how we perceive things, why we're limited by what we're given, in this case colors, and I personally am obsessed with universe talk. I feel learning about the universe is our best help in solving the 3 big questions: where did we come from, where are we going, why are we here? Learning about the universe is something everyone should constantly be looking up. There is never a time you will not be amazed with the things you will learn. The reason I bring this up is throughout the game you earn a different color. With every color you receive, you hear a monologue from a woman who challenges the player to better understand the world around them by lecturing them about colors. By now I'm pretty sure everyone has been asked the big question: try to think of a color that you've never seen before. You just can't do it. This is just one of the many limitations that we have. Or even trying to define a color to someone who has never seen that color. Give it a try. Imagine your friend has never seen blue. What would you say to them? How would you describe it? It's just not possible. They bring up one of my favorite philosophy questions actually. Is your red my red? What if red to me is actually gray for you? We may all see the world differently and never know it. One quick little fun argument I recommend you look up is a paradox, not a paradox, but a sort of way of thinking. Look up Mary's Room. But moving on with the review, throughout the story, the narrator uses these colors to express her emotions. Like when you obtain red, she compares it to being the color of anger, then expresses a time in the story of when she was angry. This game made me appreciate just how beautiful the world around me is. The way that you start out under a dark sky with this dull and empty feeling. Then you obtain your first color, blue, and even though it only adds one color, it gives you this feeling that a weight has been lifted. I could spend the next however long this video is to talk about perception, our existence, paradox after paradox, but we have more reviews to cover. I recommend this game to everyone, but not just to play. Put on some soundproof headphones, let your mind go to the beautiful soundtrack that Hue provides, and try and experience the game the way that I did, by not just aimlessly walking around and solving puzzles for the sake of solving puzzles, but by admiring the visuals, listening to the words and meanings the developer throws at you. There's a lot more to this game than most people realize. I'd like to end on my favorite quote from the game. You cannot always control what happens to you, but you can choose how you see it. Okay, Slain Back from Hell. This was actually supposed to be a reaction game. I had some good jokes lined up for you guys, and little did I know, this is a complete and total bullshit game. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, watch this. This is a regular occurrence in the game. The fuck did I step on? Trigger, activate, set off, detonate. What the shit? And this was a regular occurrence. You'd progress in the game and just prior to a checkpoint, you'd die by some random bullshit like this. They literally put memory traps in the game where the only way to make it over is to die in a previous life and then jump over it on the next run having seen it. Are you fucking kidding me? I liked this game at the start of it. I really did. It's a 2D side-scroller, you're given a sword and a little magic bolt, and though the gameplay wasn't that fun or stood out as anything mentionable, the scenery, the story, the enemy design, the soundtrack, all together made this a great experience at the beginning. If they had removed the traps, I would have probably completed it. Also, like I said in my last video, I consider myself an achievement hunter, so sure, let's play it for the oh my god. Beat the entire fucking game without dying, go fuck yourself. So, not only are we putting invisible traps on the map, but now you have to remember where each and every one throughout the entire game is just to get all the achievements? Cool, I fucking hate you. I'm not gonna recommend this game, but if you have higher patience than me and don't mind killing a few hours with some fun, cheesy gameplay, then sure, why not pick up Slain Back from the Grave after some random bullshit. Okay, Remnants of Naezith review. Okay, where do I begin? I will begin with this is in no way a bad game. A bad game, by my definition, is a game that does not run or has a bunch of bugs. However, even though this ran, it was not one of the better ones. Certainly not the worst, but definitely not one of the best. So here is my review for Remnants of Naezith. Okay, let's start with gameplay. You're in a 2D side-scrolling world, you're given a grapple, get from A to B as fast as you can. That's pretty much it. If this is your thing, hey, that's awesome. You do you, have fun. This is just not for me. Even the world sort of stayed the same throughout, same blocks, same spikes, same color scheme. Now, I will admit, I did only finish Worlds 1 and 2, but that's only because I agreed I would play at least 2 hours of these games before I review them, and for this entire game, I was just looking at the clock like... what you see here is the entire game, swinging left to right to reach the finish. Time games are fun, and credit where it's due. I even reviewed a game earlier in this video that was timed game that I love. However, this game was too repetitive with lack of variety in the world that left for dull gameplay. Now, I'm speaking from my perspective. I know there are others out there who thrive on speed and platforming regardless of gameplay, and I'm not saying it's in any way a bad thing, it's just not my cup of tea. I think the speed part in video games should be handled such as how Ori did it. Ori provided a massive world with creatures, objectives, hub areas, side quests, etc. And it still managed to provide time platforming challenges the player could do on their own time. It satisfied everybody. One could argue my expectations weren't right to begin with. Each one of these games I go into as blind as can be. All I get is the Steam starting picture. If I had been told you're about to play a 2D side-scroller solely based on platforming with a swinging grapple, maybe my expectations would have been a bit lower and I would have enjoyed it more. I'm not going to recommend this game, but I'm also not going to not recommend it. It's a game that I believe the player will know enough about themselves if this is something to their interest. Okay, Smoke and Sacrifice. I should not be reviewing this game. I did not give it the time it deserves, but I just don't see myself playing it anymore. Smoke and Sacrifice is a explore, craft, survive game. I saw some reviews comparing it to Don't Starve Together. You can sort of see it. Crafting is like all other crafting. Collect the right ingredients and you can craft a new item. This game had a very large variety of crafting. In the crafting menu, though you can't see the specific item, it shows how many items in the game that you can craft, and I was surprised by how many there were. My problem with the crafting is I was comparing it too much to Terraria. In Terraria, you can find God knows what and craft it with a variety of things to make different items. What this game felt like is, okay, here are your crafting items, let's say items A through Z. You start the game and it asks you to craft A. Then you will progress a little bit and it asks you to craft B. And then you progress a little bit and now you can craft C. This is a crafting game that just felt way too linear. Like I was following the same exact thing that everyone who's ever played this game has done. And there isn't really anything wrong with that, but when I hear explore and craft in a game, I expect to be able to make my own path. In terms of story, you start out as a woman who sacrifices her baby to what you believe are gods or machine thing, and then enemies attack the village, and someone tells you you need to go find your baby. So you go into the machine, and you are now in hell or the underworld or who knows. And your main objective is to go around and find your baby who, even though can't walk or talk, managed to fuck off about for some reason, even though he was in the exact same place when you got zapped. The world is crawling with enemies and NPCs that you sort of help along the way. Combat is your typical attack, jump away, attack, jump away, attack, jump away. This combat system isn't bad. I've played many games I've enjoyed where this is the case. However, these games were pixelated, like Morbid, Eldest Souls, Death's Gambit, and many more. With a more 3D looking game, I did expect more, but didn't hate the combat system. The reason I stopped playing was I had no idea where to go or what to do. Yeah, it says fix these 2 pillars, but what 2 pillars? Where are these 2 pillars? Can you give me any more information on this map? Not to mention, the whole time I played, there's a sort of night and day cycle where toxic waste comes out and kills you at night, unless you have a lantern, but you have to keep going around and finding materials to craft a lantern. It's like if the entire game of Dark Souls took place in Blighttown. If what you heard here suits you, or if you decide to listen to me and not get this game, please do not decide to not play it because of this review. Please look into it yourself. If anything here was to your liking, I just got too frustrated to continue. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the video. I really hope you enjoyed. Thank you.